for supporting listeners of my podcast on Facebook that got completely nuked because you literally, I remember the video that got nuked were two doctors. This was in April of 2020 who were talking about how the ventilators were killing people. And this wasn't like an accusation of a conspiracy. Nobody was saying that like doctors meant to be killing people. And of course the doctors realized.
Excuse me. Somebody please link the video that he's talking about. Because if it's the conspiracy that when you put somebody in a ventilator, they're going to die, I've heard people talk about this, but it was fucking bullshit. Especially in the early days of COVID, resources were already limited. If you were going on a ventilator, you were in a rough spot. You probably were going to die. But it's not because the fucking ventilator is going to kill you. It's because you need a machine to help you fucking breathe. You're in dire straits at that point. It's like saying if you put somebody on fucking bypass, their chances of renal failure or whatever the fuck else is way higher. The chances of somebody dying is so much higher as soon as you put him on bypass. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock, he needs bypass. He's in a bad condition right now. Same thing with a ventilator. I thought, my understanding is the early ventilator survival rates were like 10%. I think they're up to like 40 or 50 now, but it was dire straits. But I want to know, somebody please find me the video that he's referring to. Just two doctors. I bet both of these were like COVID Front Care Alliance people, like the fucking misinfo doctors.
It wasn't like an accusation of a conspiracy. Nobody was saying that like doctors meant to be killing people. And of course the doctors realized they were right and ended up changing course. But the point is that had nothing to do with left or right. It was like, we're doing lockdowns. This is the policy of the regime. And if you're out there opposing this policy, you're going to be silenced. And just to the one point that was made earlier about misinformation from Iran or China or any of these things.
Oh, we're coming back to this. What did I say? There were two chairs. One is either, well, the U.S. does this, either to enemies or to ourselves, or that pales and it's not even that big of a deal. It's like not that big of a deal to us, okay? Which chair? Is it going to be one of the two? We came back to this. Thank God we came back to this. Or is there another position that I'm about to discover?
Silence. And just to the one point that was made earlier about misinformation from Iran or China or any of these things, I'm a libertarian. I don't like governments much anywhere. And all of them are guilty of misinformation. There
it is, yeah. He's just, I wonder how much he gets paid. Fuck me. Well, I don't need the money, I guess. It would be nice, though. I think I could do it better than either of these two guys. Listen, Ivan or whatever the fuck. Pay me, okay? And I can write all the scripts for these guys. Well, you probably only write one script because they always all have the exact identical fucking talking points. I could do these talking points better, though. And I can make it like more fun. You don't need to, though. I'm sorry. Everything I'm saying is a waste of time because this is good enough. This is enough for a maggot to hear that in 2020, to hear that 2020 was the worst year of censorship in U.S. history, apparently. And to not even think, well, whose administration was it?
And lying. But the point is that we were talking about our government, who were the ones involved in the misinformation, claiming that Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation. That was the lie.
Yeah.
And so you've got the...
Ironically, that was the disinformation.
You're being
were the ones involved in the misinformation, claiming that Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation. That was the lie.
Yeah.
And so you've got the...
Ironically, that was the disinformation.
You're being willfully naive. This is a worldwide information war going on with these companies.
We can't talk about this. I don't know who she is. People in chat keep saying I disagree with her on a lot of things, apparently. She's about to bring up... This is what I'm saying. She's like the... I don't even know how long she's spoken on here. Her talking point, this is the only stuff we should be talking about. These are the good conversations. There is a worldwide information war going on right now. We don't even acknowledge it in the US because the left is too scared of Russiagate and the right has weaponized foreign actors for factious division in the US because it's benefiting them. So we can't even talk about it. There is a information battleground right now in the world. But like literally, the right welcomes it, like literally, not literally in the figuratively sense, but literally in the literally sense. Donald Trump wanted to ban TikTok, and as soon as he saw that TikTok was helping him, now TikTok is great, and he doesn't want to ban it anymore. Like, as long as the foreign misinformation is helping me, then I want to be okay with it. So we can't even talk about the massive landscape of international cyber intrusion and misinfo shit. We can't even have that conversation. And yeah, so whatever she's about to say is going to get ignored. And wait, I have to leave early again tonight. How mad are you guys? My boy Dr. K is in town. I like to have dinner with him, okay?
You're being willfully naive. This is a worldwide information war going on with these companies. And Tim knows this. Tim knows this. Like they're infected everywhere. Many years ago, I wrote a column about 7 years ago about TikTok and the possible national security issues surrounding it. I got pilloried for it, anti-China, this and that. And I said, well, it makes sense that they would come here because they have this massive landscape in the United States that is so porous.
Oh, no, we're not doing anything else tonight. I moved it to tomorrow, didn't I? Oh, I need to change the daily thing.
And so easy to manipulate and so easy to enrage whatever side you're on, that it's almost laughable how much we're all the victim of in many ways of the ability of our incredible innovation, right? And the problem is the people making the decisions. Like, you can debate all you want whether you should have taken Trump off of Twitter during the things. Everyone has a different opinion. But the fact of the matter is, my issue was, Two people made that decision in our country to do that. Mark Zuckerberg and Jack Dorsey. Two people got to decide something that is which is a much bigger debate that has to happen within our country. It is about the concentration of power at the top. And right now, Elon Musk is paying $2,000 a night to speak.
Yeah, and that is something to be concerned about, right? I think I even said it when it happened, even though I hate him, and I still hate him, and I'm praying every day for things. The idea that I can't see what the president of the United States is putting out because the social media platform banned him, that's a really interesting world to live in. There's a lot of power there. That's a very spooky-ish, that's just a weird thing. That's a weird environment to exist in. And yeah, that's a conversation that would be good to have. But these guys love it. As long as they're banning the people that we don't like, then we're good to go.
Be 300 feet away, or probably more, from Donald Trump. We can't do that. We can't have the same thing. They're all handing over money, and Donald Trump likes money, apparently, from what I've read. And they're able to
look at how upset he is. It's like he's bullying his like big brother. No, he's like, no. Look at how mad he got when she said that. There's like a visceral response. He's so upset about it.
And Donald Trump likes money, apparently, from what I've read. And they're able to access and get what they want, which is no ability to have privacy laws to protect consumers, no ability to have new antitrust laws, for example, that are critical to creating innovation. So
none of those things are coming. None of that's coming.
both conservatives and liberals can create new media companies. They can quash us because there's so many laws that aren't passed. And let me just say, there's one industry in this country, in a capitalist society, that everyone else has to have some regulation.
Media is my guess.
Some of it good, some of it bad, but every other one has to have it, except for the tech industry. There's exactly 0 laws on the books about them. And the law that...
Oh, she's just saying who's not. I'm sorry. I thought she was going to say who should be regulated in every country. She's saying who's not regulated. All the tech companies, yeah. Which is also why, by the way, all the tech billionaires and giants are jumping in bed with Donald Trump. Because if they all pay him off and they buy him, then hopefully no regulation, nothing that's going to restrict any of these like AI ventures or any of these crypto fucking ventures, any of this bullshit, yeah.
That exists, protects them from immunity. Can you imagine? I'd like that. I'm sure Peters would like that. Rupert Murdoch would love it.
They're like, hold on, excuse me, wait a second. Excuse me, did you just insult one of my 2 dads?
You opened this by saying I was being naive and then just totally sidestepped my point.
I think you're naive. I think you're naive that foreign governments see this and think candy fucking stores. Oh, sorry, I don't know if I can say that. They say candy store and look at our country that way.
Again.
Yes, you're right. Now he needs to, now remember, Dmitry and Ivan and Natasha, okay? Maybe they're in his headphones right now, okay? That's okay that Russia is doing like bad things, but remember, the U.S. is doing it even more, or at least just as much. Remember, the U.S. is doing it just as much. Don't ever let them forget that. Don't deny Russia does bad things. Don't ever do that. That's a sucker's game. But just always make sure to say that the U.S. does it just as much or more. Always make sure you say that. Always make sure you say that. Always focus on how bad the U.S. is. It's a horrible country, terrible place. Everything about it is horrible and bad. Always remember that.
And this again, that still has. How is that naive? I didn't argue, but I'm still missing the naivete. I didn't argue with that.
Is that we are in an information war with these countries, and if we don't understand that we have to have given that the U.S. companies are at the center of it, we have to have some way for our government and these companies to talk to protect U.S. interests, at least in the.
Yes, but you're dodging my point. You're dodging my point, which is that the American people.
I'm sorry, I got lost in
information,
but go ahead.
Sure.
I'm teasing you.
Okay. All right, fine. Well, my point is that American people are also in an information war with our own government. Yes. And that has actually been the most dangerous enemy in this information war.
It's always the worst. America is a horrible country, dog shit country, bad government, bad people, bad actors. Everybody's always horrible. It's always worse than the U.S. Good job, comrade. 4,000 million rubles have been deposited into your Russia PAL account. Thank you. Good comrade. Good job, comrade. I say this lightly in the background so we understand what's being...
And that American people are also in an information war with our own government, and that has actually been the most dangerous enemy in this information war over the last 25 years. And so
the most dangerous are powerful private interests that are interested in their own self-interest. The government is not it's like when the Hollywood people are fighting with each other with the Hollywood companies. You know who their enemy actually is? Apple and Amazon and Netflix, and
they've come in and bought out huge sections of the entertainment market that tech didn't traditionally inhabit.
Fighting with Disney. What's happening is these companies occupying every single part of our world and quashing innovation that's necessary so that many more voices can be heard.
But to take it back a second,
let Dean jump in there. Dean,
one quick thing here, Piers, and to me, banning speech is not good. The answer to speech you don't like is more speech, right? You counter it. Unless it's really inciting violence, I'm a lawyer, so at that point where it really is call for violence, that's criminal. What we need in America is to invest in critical thinking skills so Americans on their own don't believe something just because they like it. And I say that on the left, as someone on the left, my friends forward me something, I go, there are no links to any sources here. They're like, oh, it's great, all I get, but there's nothing backing it up. And you're being misled. And some on the right the same way. We get misled because we like what we're being told. If you have critical thinking skills to go, I like this, let me go Google it. Let me go search it on any other platform. Let me fact check it on my own with some reliable sources of view. Then this misinformation doesn't get gravitas. It doesn't resonate. We go like, we know it's BS.
People forget this.
So imagine if Jones had just said, well, that's okay, Charlie. That was all right. Good job. But Charlie thinks to himself, well, shit, I did do a pretty good job. End of story. No bird. That to me is an absolute tragedy. But that's just what the world wants now. I wonder why jazz is dying. I'll tell you, man, and every Starbucks jazz album just proves my point, really. There are no two words in the English language more harmful than...
Do your own research, because nobody does.
That's my... And Carol, you don't look at today, maybe no, but I think honestly, if people are taught the skills to question, then it makes it buffers it. It makes it. I have confidence in people.
These tools are addictive. These tools are addictive. They're necessary and they're ubiquitous. And they're also, they flood the zone with so much information that it's impossible for the human brain to take it in a lot of ways. And
yes. It should just be her cloned 4 times, and we could actually have a real conversation, like without this naive bullshit. What's the solution to bad speech? Is infinite freedom, infinite free speech everywhere. Like, that's not how literally anything in the world works. Nothing ever in the history of every discipline, everything ever has never worked this way. And there are incredibly powerful tools that are geared towards maximizing the amount of money that they can make off of you. No one here gives a fuck on Facebook or Twitter or whatever about what's true or what's best for America or anything. It's just about making money. Those interests might not always be aligned with what's the best for the country.
So it's so super.
I don't believe it's impossible.
It's
for the human brain to take things in. I think if you teach people, if people want to learn, if they want to question, if they like.
How many people is that? How many people are doing their own research legitimately?
No, I love it. I get this. Whatever it is, Truth Social or a liberal posting, and that's it. That's life. You can't reach them. My question, look, I don't want to agree with MAGA. I don't think we should all agree in America. I think we should debate in good faith and passionately and argue with each other. That's the beautiful thing. But we shouldn't be misled. And the people are.
But they have to be real arguments. Like her with maybe this guy. These people could have real arguments. These guys, I don't want people who are on Kremlin payrolls dictating. And maybe Pierce too, I don't know. But these two guys should never be having conversations. At the very least, Tim Pool is disqualified from ever being allowed to have a conversation in a journalistic environment. Even if I take your story at face value, okay, you are an investigative journalist who couldn't investigate that you were getting paid $5 million for a year of dog shit content. Sorry, bro. Even if your story is true, that's even a bigger reason to disqualify you. Like, you're clearly, if you can't even investigate under your own nose for shit that you literally have your grubby little fucking hands in, how the fuck are you expected to give good takes on literally anything? Why would anybody trust you for anything at all? So you're disqualified immediately. And Dave doesn't reach the IQ threshold to be allowed near electronics without hurting himself. So he would be banned as well. And then it would just be like these people and 2 clones of each of them.
There are bad actors at the top who are misleading good Americans.
Okay, let me bring in.
And one of my biggest anger.
I couldn't find the 2 doctors, but here's the reference to them. The ventilator talk. Hold on.
Hey, you want to hear a crazy one also? For all this hoopla about the...
Is that Dave's? Oh my God. Okay.
Ventilators, they're finding out that the ventilators, like 80% of the time, when they got to put someone on a ventilator, the ventilator doesn't help. It actually stresses people's lungs. And for
That's what ventilators do.
All that was like the biggest thing in this whole thing was there aren't enough ventilators. And it could be that, well, the ventilators aren't going to do anything anyways. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I was reading about that it's
There are systems that have been engineered for so long to perform functions, okay, in the human body, like cleaning the blood or bringing oxygen into your body, okay? And the best thing that we've discovered so far, for the human body at least, to help people breathe are your fucking lungs. It's your body. Your kidneys filter shit. So far, better than most machines that we've found. Your liver does good things for enzyme and hormones and other whatever bullshit. Your stomach is good at digestion. Your lungs, your diaphragm, that whole process, your body basically does it the best. It's hard to just replace organs with bionic fucking things and make it better. Ventilators are incredibly stressful on the body. So is dialysis, by the way. Like all of these machines, these assisted living machines, are just ticking time bombs for how long you could basically go until you die. You're going to have so many compounded issues that are going to just start popping up that are stressing different parts of your body. You're going to die eventually. You can't live for very long on these machines. There have been improvements on the tech or whatever, but they're stressful. Yeah, ventilators they're harsh. And if you're on a ventilator, what have we said? Right? If you've been put on a ventilator, that means that you're in such dire straits that your body can't breathe anymore. Whether that means the diaphragm isn't working enough and you're too weak, or whether that means for some reason your lungs are just not oxygenated enough, or so whatever's going on, something is breaking down severely here. This is like a death state, right? You can't breathe. You're dying. You would be dead, right? I don't understand how somebody can say by the time you put in a ventilator, you die a lot. To use my example over and over again, yes, just like chemotherapy means you have a much higher chance of dying of cancer than somebody not on chemotherapy. Because if you're on chemotherapy, you already have cancer.
This whole thing was there aren't enough ventilators, and it could be that, well, the ventilators aren't going to do anything anyways. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I was reading about that it's actually turning out that the majority of the cases, the ventilators aren't helping. And man, isn't that another thing to throw?
Just think about what you just said there. In the majority of the cases, the ventilators are not helping. In the majority of the cases, the ventilators aren't helping. In basically every case where you need a ventilator, if you don't have one, you're dead. You're dying. So if they don't help in the majority of the cases, that means they are helping. Like in the majority of cases, you know that CPR doesn't work, right? But generally, absent the CPR, you're dead. So as long as it's helping sometimes.
Throw into the fucking mix, and it's just, it's crazy. And then it also the other thing that's going on now is that the consensus seems to be, of course, that we need another stimulus bill. And they were talking about this for a while, but they actually proposed one in the Senate the other day. It didn't go through. I think the Democrats said it wasn't big enough or something like that. But the idea of this the payment protection plan, which was, I don't know if you read about this, but this was in the $2 trillion stimulus bill. It's basically a plan where they will small businesses can take out loans. There's a certain amount of money allocated for loans to small businesses. And if they don't fire anyone and don't cut their pay, then they're eligible to get either part or all of those loans forgiven. Okay, so that's the plan. So the 250 of these people, Ron Paul used to always say, that his differences with other, congressmen were it's philosophical. Like, they don't have the same philosophical worldview that I have. And I'd always kind of be like, he's letting them off the hook a little easy. Like, I think they're just corrupt and evil. But I really am starting to think now, it's like, there really is this philosophy problem where I think so many of these people just didn't really think that it would be that devastating to the economy to halt production for a month. Like, oh yeah, but there's enough wealth that if we just move it around, if we just have some government spending, we can just loan those businesses the money, and then that's fine, and then we'll forgive the loans, and that's no problem. And I think people are starting to realize, like, oh shit, this actually really is going to destroy millions of businesses. So
I always think it's so funny and interesting, and it says a lot about like the type of world we live in, that fiat currency and money and financial stuff, that's all fake because it's bullshit and we don't have gold, and that doesn't mean anything. But like production and businesses, that's real, right? And in COVID, we shut down shit for real. Companies weren't producing goods and things, like actual real physical things. They got shut down. And in 2007, 2008, that was all like bullshit paper, like financial instruments. It was all like fake stuff. But it took the world and all of us so much longer to come back from 2007, 2008, the financial crash, than the COVID stuff, which is very interesting. You would have imagined that like the COVID shit would have taken decades plus to come back from, because we shut everything down and that was real and crazy and horrible. But the 2007, 2008, the ripple effects to the economy was so much worse.
That part's very real.
Yeah, I mean, also on the money stimulus side, when they put together those loans, they didn't tell banks how it's unclear what extent those.
Okay. All right, back to this.
Trump is
let me segue just slightly with Tim, just to Elon Musk specifically, because over here in the UK, he's been basically taking on the country in spectacular fashion, calling for our Prime Minister to be in prison.
Wouldn't it also be accurate that 100% of people who were put on ventilators would have died if they weren't? That's my understanding. I'm sure that the percentage is probably a bit higher now for people that would have survived. But back then, I think the ventilators were in shorter supply. So if you were put on one, you were in a real bad condition. So my guess would be close to like 95% plus of people are probably would have probably died if not put on a ventilator. Like a ventilator, nobody wants to be in a ventilator. It's not good. It means that you can't breathe without assistance. Your like oxygenation levels in your blood are falling. You're gonna die, generally.
Calling for the king to dissolve Parliament, which he can't actually do, backing this thug who's in prison called Tommy Robinson as some kind of Nelson Mandela figure, and so on. Now, look.
You're not going to like where they got that take from. Wait, what is this? Thread, 80% of the people they put on ventilators died. Joe Rogan told billionaire entrepreneur Elon Musk on the Joe Rogan Experience Tuesday. So so in fact, I actually posted about that, responded Musk, because I called doctors in Wuhan and said, what are the biggest mistakes you made on the first wave? This is early on. And they said, we put far too many people on intubated ventilators. So then I actually posted on Twitter at the time and said, hey, what I'm hearing from Wuhan is that they made a big mistake in putting people on intubated ventilators for an extended period, and that this is actually what is damaging the lungs, not COVID. It's the treatment. The cure is worse than disease. Bro, actually just fucking kill me, dude. Why is this fucking I'm being negative. Why? You don't know anything about medicine or whatever the fuck else. At the very least, qualify your statements. Or just don't talk about it. Like, stay in your lane and just shut the fuck up. And let the people that are like the medical professionals like actually do.
Well, 80% of the people they put on ventilators die.
Yeah. So, in fact, I actually posted about that because I called doctors in Wuhan and said, what are the biggest mistakes that you made on the first wave? This was early on. And they said, we put far too many people on intubated ventilators. So then I actually posted on Twitter at the time and said, hey, what I'm hearing from Wuhan is that they made a big mistake in putting people on intubated ventilators for an extended period. And that this is actually what is damaging the lungs, not COVID.
It's a different type of damage. Like I don't even know why. How ventilators stress the body. I'm sorry, if you don't understand the game that's being played here, this is trying to say that this is playing into the conspiracy theory that COVID didn't do anything bad at all, that COVID didn't matter. The only thing that was really hurting people were all the cures. That's what was actually damaging people, not COVID. That's what this conspiracy is playing into. Ventilators do damage lungs, yes, but in a different way. And it's not the same thing that, it's not the same, one is not a replacement for the other. Yeah, I'm not a fucking... The fuck is this? What's the name of the... Oh, is it just this? Oh, barotrauma was it? What I was looking for. Mechanical ventilation with application of pressure to the lung. Oh, I'm sorry. And then just like a real quick thing. I'm not a pulmonologist, whatever the fuck you would need to even understand this. But like the way that your body works is there's like this complicated balance of when you breathe and your diaphragm is like contracting and expanding. There's like this whole pneumonologist, whatever the fuck. There's this whole complicated shit of like opening your lungs by contracting a muscle, and it brings air into the body, and then you close the lungs by I think the expansion of the diaphragm, right? You're doing all this stuff. This is like part of the mechanics of breathing. When that's not working for some reason, and you have to shove air into somebody's body, it's a different physiological process. Now, it's better than not breathing. That's not good. It's not good to not breathe, okay? But it's a more stressful thing, like traumatic, not in like that you have trauma, well, yes, and you have trauma, but like a physically traumatic, like causing injuries type thing to endure than your diaphragm breathing, right? Which is very ordinary and easy and not painful and shouldn't cause any issues at all, than to put a tube down somebody's fucking airway and shove air into their body. That's a difficult thing to do. This is also one of the reasons why. And another reason why Elon is especially retarded and should be fucking talking about this, because Elon Musk initially said that he wanted to make his own ventilators because he thought that ventilators were too expensive. And he said that it was a waste of money, that there were all these stupid expensive ventilators, and he could make one way cheaper than all these other stupid ventilator companies or whatever. But the reality is like the ventilator machines are very complicated. It's a sophisticated product. Again, you're shoving air into somebody's body. There's a lot of measurements and everything you have to take. The oxygenation levels, like the pressure levels and all this. It's a very complicated machine. It's not just a balloon that you're pumping air in and out of somebody's fucking lungs for. And Elon was critical when these first came out. I'm not going to go find the articles for all this, but CNN contacted 10 California hospitals identified by Musk in the partial list of recipients that he posted on Thursday, because Musk said he had sent out over 1,000 ventilators to hospitals. Of the 4 hospitals that responded, all said that they had received bi-level positive airway pressure or continuous positive airway pressure machines, devices that can aid breathing and be used for sleep apnea. None had received ventilators. We received 6 CPAPs, and we are very grateful for the gift, said a spokesperson for Sonoma Valley Hospital. Mammoth Hospital also said it received 10 bi-level machines from Tesla. They're not full ventilators, but they are lots of people. There are lots of people that need breathing assistance, a spokesperson said, calling the donation very gracious. Los Angeles County officials said that they received from Tesla 100 bi-level units manufactured by the company ResMed in late March. CPAP machines typically start around $500, while BiPAP machines can be had for about $1,200. Ventilators, however, range in the price range from $20,000 to $50,000. I feel like we all like mind wiped ourselves of this or memory hold this, but like Elon did this with a lot of things. Remember when there was the people who were trapped in the underwater cave or some bullshit, and Elon was like, I'm gonna make a sub to go save everybody. And then I think one of the divers was like, I don't really think you can just make a sub to go save everybody. And Elon's like, that's because you're a pedophile. Oh, was that in Thailand? Yeah, like it is generally regarded, based on animal models and human studies, that volutrauma is the most harmful aspect of mechanical ventilation. This may be regarded as the overstretching of the airways and the alveoli. For mechanical ventilation, the flow of gas in the lungs will take the path of least resistance. Areas of the lung that are collapsed, atelectasis, I don't know, or filled with secretions will be underinflated, while those areas that are relatively normal will be overinflated. These areas become distended and injured. This may be reduced by using smaller tidal volumes. Sorry, this is probably better than. May occur in previously normal lungs or worsen pre-existing ARDS. I don't know what that stands for. About 1 in 4 mechanically ventilated patients develop VAI. The risk is likely higher in ARDS patients. I don't know what this is. Oh, acute respiratory distress syndrome. These are the types of ventilation. But anyway, I'm sorry. It's such a stupid statement. Sorry, Jesus. I didn't get any treatment, and it was still the closest I've ever felt to death. I'm young and recovered, but it's still a permanent lung damage and compromised smell/taste 3 years later. Rogan and Musk are idiots. Did you try a CPAP machine?
It's the ventilators for an extended period. And that this is actually what is damaging the lungs, not COVID. It's the treatment. The cure is worse than the disease. And people yelled at me and said, I'm not a doctor. I'm like, yeah, but I do just make spaceships with life support systems. What do you do?
I like that.
I twiddle knobs. I'm like, okay, great.
Yeah.
Rock on.
Well,
what are the, like, these are the things. I listened to that one video. Elon is not an idiot. Elon is not an idiot. Elon is not an idiot. He's not retarded. He's not retarded. He's not retarded. He's not retarded. He's not. I listened to one video and I was like, okay, it sounds like he knows what he's talking about. At least for like some engineering thing. It sounded like he knew what he was talking about. This is such an unbelievably stupid statement to make. You make life support systems because you can like design, like have an atmosphere. Like, would you trust Boeing to make a ventilator for you because like their cabins are pressurized? Like. Number 2, Elon Musk's statements about the ventilators are corroborated by Dr. Joseph Mercola. On June 7th, 2023, Mercola wrote about, quote, the COVID hospital death trap, end quote, on X. Here's what he stated on the subject. Within weeks of the pandemic outbreak, it had become apparent that the standard practice of putting COVID-19 patients on mechanical ventilators was a death sentence. Now, remember here, okay, listen to these numbers here and listen. Now we have the benefit of retrospecting, right? And how the narrative changed in real time. When COVID was first coming out, it was a Chinese bioweapon. It was like a thing created to kill us. And then like, oh my God, like it's actually the treatment that's killing everybody. And it is so deadly because of the hospitals and because of the pharmaceuticals. And now that we're at this stage, none of it was actually deadly ever. None of it actually mattered. It was all just a meme. It wasn't anything ever, actually. It was all bullshit the whole time, right? How the narrative changes and updates, but not in response to like scientific understanding or desire to learn or be able to handle the situation more effectively, but just in propaganda narratives, right? Is there a conspiracy attached to why the ventilators are being used so much? Who knows? Because the Jews or something on white people. Who is this guy? Dr. Mercola was one of the partners in a website called Stop COVID Cold, offering advice to the public on preventing and treating COVID-19 with alternative remedies. The website includes links to Mercola's online store, puts a strong emphasis on vitamin D. Anybody that talks about vitamin C super shots or vitamin D shit, 99% of the time is full of shit also. That's a really, really easy heuristic that'll save you from like almost all medical misinformation dipshits. He was warned by the FDA in February 2020 for selling fake COVID-19 cures. Hold on. What do you think are the chances that if I look this guy up, Joseph Mercola, do you think I can find him selling medical emergency kits that have ivermectin in them? What do you think? Show me does he have any businesses or anything at all? Free shipping available. Formulated by Dr. Mercola. The Mercola Market. Oh, it's all just supplements. Do you think he lost his license? Stop. Yeah, I don't see any prescription stuff at all. Okay, so anyways, Quack Doctor wrote about the COVID hospital death trap. Within weeks of the pandemic outbreak, it had become apparent that the standard practice putting COVID-19 patients on mechanical ventilation was a death sentence. 76.4% of COVID-19 patients aged 18 to 65 in New York City who were placed on ventilators died. Among patients over 65 who were vented, the mortality rate was 97.2%. The recommendation to place COVID patients on mechanical ventilation as a first-line response came from the World Health Organization, which allegedly based its guidance on experiences and recommendations from doctors in China. But venting, wait, first-line response? What? Wait, what does first-line response mean? This is like the first treatment, the first product that you try to treat something, right? I don't know why I Googled this like a fucking retard. Ventilation is not a treatment for COVID. This is like a management of like a death tier fucking symptom. That's like saying one of the treatments for cancer or something is like a defib because you can have fucking heart arrhythmia or whatever the fuck you would shock. Like this is a meaningless. Nobody is saying that a mechanical ventilation is like a first line response to COVID, but okay. But venting COVID patients wasn't recommended because it increased survival. It was to protect healthcare workers by isolating the virus inside the vent machine. Okay. Data suggests that around 10,000 patients died with COVID in New York City hospitals after being put on ventilators in spring of 2020. Other metropolitan areas also saw massive spikes in deaths among younger individuals who were at low risk of dying from COVID. It's possible many of these deaths were the result of being placed on mechanical ventilation. No one told the patients.
She has audio recordings that I recently publicized of a conversation between her and a nurse, the nurse talking about how they're killing people in the hospital, how their floor was doing the things that no other floor would do because, well, no one other floors wanted to carry out the murder, essentially. They knew what was happening in a lot of cases.
At Destiny, I was in the ICU for 6 weeks on high flow oxygen, cancer patient, extremely sick before vaccinations. I was not placed on a ventilator, so I would call BS. Yeah, you don't go on a ventilating is not good for you. That's a harsh process. You wouldn't put somebody on a ventilator unless you like really fucking needed it. Like this person's like probably gonna die if he's not vented. You just wouldn't do that. Like imagine if you were like standing in an emergency room, you're like, and a doctor's like, "What's going on? Are you okay?" And you're like, "I don't know, man. I feel kind of like woozy." You're like woozy. It's like, yeah, I don't know. And they grab a knife and they fucking they trach you and intubate. You're like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Oh, I don't know. I was worried you couldn't breathe. Let me shove the," and you're like, "Oh, like."
Cola just put out a paper where he discussed the use of ventilators. The concept for ventilators came from China. They said, well, if you put a ventilator on someone's face, they can't cough on you, so we'll keep the healthcare workers safe, right? Even though that we knew that, 75%.
Like, source this. Also, keep in mind, like, where is this even at? Is he just providing some bullshit out of the Pennsylvania State Senate? Okay.
Or so of the people in New York City put on ventilators were dying. We kept doing it because we're going to protect the healthcare workers. That was the theory. Now, no one talked about that when the patients were going in there. No one told the patients, hey, you're being protected, or you're going to be put on this vent. It's probably going to kill you, but it may protect the healthcare workers. No one told the families that. And by the way, we actually had whistleblower testimony from a yet to be unmasked whistleblower, and probably won't be, who worked for CMS. I've got data from CMS that showed a number of Texas hospitals as high as 90% of patients put on the vent died.
Like, if this guy's a real doctor, he should be disbarred. I don't know what it is called. Medical license, probably thrown in prison for just fucking lying or kicked out of the fucking country, okay? They call these night flights in Latin America, all right? Like, what do we... He's not a doctor, just an attorney? Wait, I thought they called him doctor. Wait, is this not... Oh, no, this is a different guy than the guy from... than Dr. Joseph Mercola. Sorry, this is an attorney guy. Gotcha. I don't care. Everything I just said still applies. Like, what number of people... Again, I feel stupid even saying this. Like, the number of people put on chemo probably die of cancer way more than people not on chemo. People, ironically enough... The people that are most likely to die from falling from high places are probably people with parachutes on. Or the people most likely to die from gunshot wounds are probably people with like bulletproof vests on. Or the people that are most likely to die from bombs are people with bomb squad. Maybe not 100%, right? Don't know how people die. But like this is like such a... Like the people most likely to die in car accidents probably have their seatbelts on, right? The majority of drivers probably have their seatbelts on when they die. Like I'm sure your risk of getting into a lethal accident is much higher if you don't have your seatbelt on, but just because so many people wear their seatbelts, I hope. But like it's such a stupid...
90%. Now they wouldn't let you try ivermectin, but they were more than willing to put you on the vent where you had a 90% fatality rate. You tell me that they didn't notice? You're telling me that the doctors on those floors... I mean, listen, I can't say all doctors are created equal. McCullough is a head above most, But you got through med school. I would think you would probably be smart enough to notice when 9 out of 10 of your patients, when they're put on the vent, die. At least maybe you should ask the question, is there a better way?
And not a single doctor in the entire world thought about this. But you, the really smart dude, okay, looks like a fucking Roblox character, you absolutely are the only one, you and this other weird dude, who also stand to gain a whole bunch of money by selling your bullshit-ass supplements.
Why not let someone try ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine?
Literally, people were. There were plenty of people off-label prescribing any of these things if they wanted to.
If you have a 9 out of 10 chance of dying anyways. The reason that that's dear to my heart is because the people called me and I fought with hospital after hospital after hospital to try and save their lives. And as I testified last year here, we essentially legislated these deaths into being by incentivizing the use of remdesivir in poor protocols.
That was the one that Alex Stein, the guy who killed his mom with COVID by telling her not to get vaccinated so that he can make a TikTok video of her dying in a hospital so that he can make money off of it because he's an absolutely shameless subhuman piece of shit. That's what he was crying about afterwards to the doctors. Remember, the only reason why conservatives don't like remdesivir is because I think Fauci said that remdesivir looked promising one time.
A trial that the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, which is the institute I direct sponsored, was started in February 21st of this year, and it was a randomized placebo-controlled trial comparing the Gilead drug remdesivir with a placebo. The data shows that remdesivir has a clear-cut, significant positive effect in diminishing the time to recovery. This is really quite important for a number of reasons, and I'll give you the data.
This is the reason why everybody hates remdesivir. It's just because of this one statement. I think it turned out, I don't believe that after trials, I don't think remdesivir did help at all. I don't think it's used as a treatment protocol at all. But that's why everybody, anytime you hear somebody who's like, I hate remdesivir, it's always because of that one thing.
Incentivizing the use of vents and incentivizing, again, not people recovering from COVID, but people dying from COVID. You got a cash bonus when someone died from COVID.
You get to code people and you get to have different payment amounts based on what people are being treated for, but it's because the treatment was more expensive. There's another bullshit talking point.
From COVID, but people dying from COVID. You got a cash bonus when someone died from COVID. So it was an incentive to kill people, and it worked incredibly well. I'm happy to revisit that, but again, my testimony from last year covered that.
It's been known that vents were for people in the worst conditions. Why are we revisiting this shit? Can't these people... Oh, because it was brought up. I'm so sorry. All of this reading and all of this bullshit that I just went through was just because of... Sorry, hold on. How long is this fucking thread? Oh my God. One sec. I've got data from CMS that showed in a number of Texas hospitals as high as 90% of patients put on the vent died. Okay. This is just quoting him up here. Hospitals murdered COVID patients. The more they killed, the more money they made. For more details on how COVID patients became prisoners, watch this Epoch Times interview with Stella Paul below. Thanks for making it to the end. While you're here, check out these other stories from Vigilant News. Steve Kirsch died suddenly. Is being caused by the COVID vaccines. Proven correct. All of that was proven bullshit also, by the way. What do you think this guy's posting about now? I don't want to scroll down. Sorry, but anyway, the reason why I brought this up is because this guy just referenced... Wait, was this a long time ago? No, you guys found this was a while back earlier. It's because Dave referenced how 2 doctors who were just having an innocent conversation about COVID got censored. It wasn't 2 innocent doctors having a conversation. It was people that were deliberately lying and spreading misinformation in order to enrich themselves and make more money because they were selling supplements and wanted to stand as the counterculture. For more information on these types of people, watch the documentary... is this the name of the movie?
The Vicks Vapor Rub people, the Lysol people, look it up.
This was made like in 2011, by the way. So this isn't supposed to be... So when you watch this, you might be thinking like, ooh, this is like a really cringe like way to kind of like ham up the COVID shit. Like this is like way over the top. No, this was made like 10 years before COVID ever came out. It just happened to predict every single scumbag, subhuman fucking character that would come to dominate our media environments afterwards.
The Vicks Vapor Rub people, the Lysol people, look it up. One man dies, another man makes money off his coffin. One country culls all their chickens. Red meat goes into higher demand. I'm not the first person to...
Both of these claims were done, right? So somebody dies, you get paid money for it. And there was a... what country was it where they said they killed all the cows for no reason? Was it Norway or Sweden? What am I thinking of? Does anybody remember what I'm thinking of? Does anybody remember this happening? Was it Denmark? There was a country that killed their animals because of something, a disease or something, and people were like, oh, they're doing it intentionally just to... Denmark killed their chickens? Yeah, just to... I don't even know what the fuck the Jews... Just the Jews. I always blame the Jews.
Country culls all their chickens. Red meat goes into higher demand. I'm not the first person to make money off the fact that our immune system is a work in progress. The pharmaceutical industry do it every quarter.
I don't think anyone is immune to opportunity, Alan. It's just that the studies show that there is no proof that Forsythia works.
Who conducted the studies?
Forsythia is his bullshit medicine that he's trying to sell and make money off of and get rich off of.
It's just that the studies show that there is no proof that Forsythia works.
Who conducted the studies? What defines works? Against what strain of the virus?
Did you know about the studies when we met the last time? We can get in a lot of trouble.
You really think this Dr. Hextall CDC person is Jesus in a lab coat? The government rushed the trials. The lawyers indemnified the drug companies.
Remember, you can't sue the vaccine companies. Why are they all given protection? None of the trials are trustworthy. It's the pharmaceuticals' own trials.
Maybe it causes autism or narcolepsy or cancer 10 years from now. Who knows? The swine flu vaccine killed people back in 1976.
Polio vaccine killed people. We didn't even need that because of the bad stuff, the Simonian fucking virus, right?
Nerve disease. So we're all guinea pigs, starting from today. Just wait. They'll start listing side effects like the credits at the end of a movie.
People trust you, Alan. If you tell them not to take it.
That's right. They trust me. All 12 million unique visitors. I'm a trusted man stepping up to a microphone in front of a very large crowd. That's who I am. That's the brand. I say the right thing. Nobody shows up for their shot. Maybe they'd rather roll the dice with Forsythia. I can make that happen. I just want to know I'm in the best position possible when I do.
What does that mean exactly?
If I'm going to step into the crosshairs, I want to know what's in. Is he with you?
What? Who?
Are you wearing a wire?
Alan, I didn't have a choice. They've seen your blog.
Most likely manslaughter.
It's cured me. Forsythia cured me.
We'll see, Alan.
This is entrapment. You can't take my blood. You can't. That's my property.
Called Tommy Robinson as some kind of Nelson Mandela figure, and so on. Now, look, I dissolved Parliament, which you can't actually. Our Prime Minister, he's been basically taking on the country. And
Angry with Trump is on
let me segue just.
American.
Okay, let me bring in.
And one of my biggest angry with Trump is on that.
Let me.
Wait, did we watch this section? The entire section?
Apparently, from what I've read.
Or did I click ahead?
And they're able to access and get what they want, which is no ability to have privacy laws to protect consumers, no ability to have new antitrust laws for Amazon and Netflix, and they're fighting with, and they flood the zone with
Green America. I think we should debate in good art.
He's been basically taking on the country in spectacular fashion, calling for our Prime Minister to be in prison, calling for the King to dissolve Parliament, which he can't actually do, backing this thug who's in prison called Tommy Robinson as some kind of Nelson Mandela figure, and so on. Now, look, I, for what it's worth, I think Elon is a genius, albeit like all geniuses, he's flawed. And one of his flaws is he's got this tremendously powerful...
Look at how awkward Timmy is when he can't dictate the flow of the conversation, right? Because on his show, he likes to ambush you with topics that he's like super well read on or has memorized every autistic little incorrect misinformation factoid on. But like when Piers has control of the conversation, Timmy has to be really careful how he enters because he's always like 2 questions away from complete and utter collapse because he really has no idea what the fuck he's talking about beyond whatever script he's sent by Natasha.
Tool now, which is his 200 million followers on his own platform. And whilst I like the fact he's let everyone come back on to X, I think that's definitely balanced things up. And I think he is genuine about his desire to want free speech to return. I am concerned that he doesn't quite understand, or maybe he does but doesn't care, just how powerful his battering ram is when he tweets things like free Tommy Robinson, who is, to most people in my country, an extremely insidious individual who should absolutely not be free right now.
Why should Tommy not be free?
Well, because he's not the Nelson Mandela freedom fighter that most people in America seem to think he is. He's a convicted football hooligan who beat up a policeman and got convicted of that. He was convicted of...
I think that this is a debate tactic. I think Tim knows a little bit about this. We'll see how this argument goes. I think Tim knows a little bit about this, and when he asks Piers why shouldn't he be free, Tim is trying to see what Piers knows about it so he can probe to do this like factoid abuse. This is always the manipulator, the abuser's tactic too. And interpersonally, people do this. Is when somebody's trying to manipulate you or mind fuck you or gaslight you, they're going to ask you questions about a thing. If you don't know every single particular detail, they're going to find the one thing that you don't know, and they're going to blow that little hole wide open so that you can't have any grounding on the topic, basically. But we'll see how this conversation goes. Maybe not. Who knows?
Passport fraud, trying to get into America, convicted of mortgage fraud, convicted of 2 contempts of court where he nearly wrecked trials involving the rape gang suspects when they were on trial, nearly literally avoiding justice for the girls in those cases. He's now in prison, nothing to do with the rape gang scandal, but entirely to do with his defamatory conduct towards a 15-year-old Syrian